by Avram and Sarah that came into corporeality, or corporeality, whatever the word is, later. Yeah.
Do you think she could also see that there was something in the baby that Hagar was carrying that was problematic?
Yeah, the baby by definition was problematic. Because the baby cannot be Baruch, yeah. Now by definition he cannot be Avram's heir. No matter what Avram thinks, it cannot be. So you'll say to me, why did you let Ishmael live? Isn't that a good question?
Mm-hmm.
How did they get to point 2? Second pregnancy.
Okay. So
And what was Sarah thinking anyway? She brings her maidservant and gives it to Abraham. The obvious going to happen.
well, that's what we suggested that.
And
That she was so loyal and so in awe of Sarah. Remember, Sarah has malachim at her disposal. Her tent has miracles constantly. There was never a blessing. The bread was always a blessed, and then she had the light going from Shabbos to Shabbos, and she was a living and breathing in a world that was higher than Avram's world. She was on a much higher plane, and Hashem said so. Hashem said that you have to listen to Sarai because her relationship with the higher realms is more sophisticated than yours. And Avram didn't see what Sarah saw. Yeah.
I just
At
wonder
all.
if Sarah didn't have some sort of conversation with Hagar when she lost the baby about having that happening,
Oh, okay.
possibly because of her attitude.
Okay, so let's take the next thing. What happens before or right after the miscarriage? Remember that Hagar runs away.
She ran away.
She ran away. Okay, so why? Because Sarah was tormenting her. She was trying to get her to learn the lesson that she is only a shivcha. So she gave her the work of a shivcha and didn't allow her to have status, even being pregnant. So what happens the first time? The first time, this is already, okay, 1 second. Take a good to it now, right? So now, what happens? Vayomer Asarai, do what you want. You're so angry, you are blaming me for not davening for you, right? Yishbot Hashem ben yivnecha, din. I'm requesting a din Torah, right? And I'm going to win. And Avram says, Hine shivcha seich. Okay, I get it. She's not my wife. This child that she's expecting is not my heir. And then, do what you want. So what does she do to her? Vate'aneha Sarai vativrach mipaneha. She's so torments Hagar, putting her in her place, that Hagar runs away. What happens next? Very interesting. Who does she see? A malach. Wait a minute. Who is Malach appearing to now? Not to Sarai and not in Avram, but to Hagar herself. What does that mean? That Hagar has an elevated status. Let's see. Vayomer Hagar shivcha Sarai. Okay, she got to see Malachim because she was so used to them anyway. She was raised up to the level of Sarah. That's the whole point. Bas Paro was supposed to be raised up in the spiritual level, and she was. She says, Amy Zebata, where'd you come? Va'ana Telchim, where are you going? As if to say, who do you think you are? You got to be Shivcha Sarah. Vatarb Sarah Gevirti Ani Borachas. I have run from Sarah, my mistress. So what does she say? No, why did she run away? How can you run away? If she's your mistress, how do you run away? A slave running away. Think about it. When a slave runs away, what are they doing? They want to escape. They don't want to be a slave anymore. So he says to her, Vayomer la Malach Hashem, Shuvi el Gevirtech. Go right back to Sarah, your mistress. V'his'ani tachas yadeha. And you'll suffer under her hand. Meaning, you'll subjugate yourself to her. But now that's one malach. Another malach comes. Vayomer la Malach Hashem harbe arbe ezarech v'lo yisaper mirov. You're going to have incredible amounts of children, countless. How many Arabs are there in the world today? You know,
I mean,
How many Arabs, or how many
billion?
Ishmaelites are there?
Too many, right?
Yeah, out of 7 billion, how many Muslims are there in the world? Do you know how many Muslims there are in the world?
Well,
I think it's like between 2 and 3 billion. It's a massive.
Well, they-
You know, Christians are 3.
They're not
Christians
all
are 3,
Bnei
4 billion.
Yishmael.
What?
they're not all B'nai Ishmael.
In the sense that they follow Islam. They are, because you see the locus of Ishmael is Mitzrayim. It's the biggest Arab country in the world. Going over 80 million Arabs in that one country, 80 million. And growing by leaps and bounds every day. You're going to end up with 100 million. It's going to be one of the most populous countries on the planet in a few years. All the countries that are growing incredibly fast are either African or Islamic countries. The West is shrinking population dramatically. No one wants to have children. People who are involved in highly developed countries do not want to have children. They're involved with careers and technology and their own lives, and they're not. They don't want to give up their time. They don't want to give up their money, etc. So now the Malach says to her, "You lost a pregnancy." Vayomer Malach Hashem. Now this is like a third Malach. Hina hara v'yoledet ben.
How do we know there are all these different malach?
Because the pasuk says Malach, Malach, Malach. Unfortunately, say that
Every time it's a
every
malach.
time it says the word Malach. It doesn't say Vayomer. It doesn't say how Malach spoke. Malach, Malach. Machlok is how many Malachim. Because I'll argue how many Malachim were her. Lots and lots of Malachim. Hin chahara, says Rashi. You would think she's pregnant. Hin chahara, you're pregnant. No. She's going to become pregnant. Kimo hin chahara, Rashi says, because Rashi is following the Pshat of Chazal that Sarah put an ayin hara in the first pregnancy and lost it, so she's going to become pregnant again. All right. And what's going to happen? V'yiladet ben, v'karat shmo Yishmael. You're going to call him Yishmael. You're going to call him that. Why? Kishama Hashem es anyech. What does anyech? Where does Inui come in over here? What Inui?
That's from Sarah.
No, what Inui? She has to go follow the line. It says, you have to, the first Malach says to her, Shuvi al gvirtech v'his'ani tachas yadeha. Because you will be willing to subjugate yourself to Sarah, the true tzadeket emes. Really, that's what she is. She's the tzadeket emes. And that will be good for you. You'll be blessed. Because Avram is the source of blessing, and you're like the source of blessing too. So if you attach yourself and subjugate yourself and honor Sarah, Imenu, and the Jewish people, you'll have this incredible blessing. Now, he says to her, there's one problem. V'hu yiyeh pere adam.
What a nachas shoni.
So what's he trying to do? You got great news here, and now your son's going to be a wild donkey of a person. Gee, that's exciting. Why would I want to do that? There has to be a pshat in which this wasn't something that Hagar would object to. So here's what I thought.
That's her revenge.
Ramban. Well, no. He's telling her something quasi-positive about him, a reality. That's not something terrible, it's just problematic. What is it? He says, I'm going to tell you the nature of your children. The nature is going to be per adam. The Ramban learns, based on that the per adam continues with the next description, says the Ramban. Yodo b'kol v'yad kol bo. He will be a contentious person. He'll be constant strife with others. That's what per adam means. That's the Ramban's pshat. So, okay. So he's going to be a warlike person. Fine. He'll be a warlike person. And that's how he's going to live. There is one more connotation, though. And Ramban brings the pasuk, speaks about the wild donkeys of the Midbar were just, they just were going and looking for a fight. They were looking to grab food. They just were, obstreperous. Okay? So if you tell me your son's going to be a really tough guy, okay. So my son will be, so it won't be a lemela. At least he won't be a lemela like Yitzchak. Right? Nebuch. who's tied up like a little lamb on the Akedah, Ayesel La'oila. He's not gonna be a lamb, he's gonna be a tough guy. They are tough guys. So, Ariyam was the tough guys, but there's something deeper here. I would like to suggest. Ready? Something you never heard before, because I never heard it before. Scramble the word para, and what word do you get? Play word scramble. Aleph, Pei, Resh.
Rafe, Rafe?
Rafeh, which means to heal. Very good. What?
Offer.
Afer. Afer. Ashes.
Like a paraduma ashes?
Pars with a hay. Like an Akedah ashes. Like a human being that's burnt to the crisp. Does that sound familiar? You see, Avinu said about himself, Anochi Afar Be'efer. Ironically, it could mean, I am Afer like through Yishmael, I'm Afar like Yitzchak, because that his sand will be like, his seed will be like the sands of the earth. Doesn't say anything about Afar and Yishmael, it just says Lo Yisaper Miro. The analogy to the sands of the earth, which are countless. That's Yitzchak. Afer means that, this is how Chazal interpret Al Pi Kabbalah, his contentiousness is due to his understanding of his spiritual role. The job of Yishmael is to be extremely tied to spirituality, i.e., do what Avram and Sarah do, which is, what do they do a lot?
Chesed.
What did Avram institute in the world that didn't exist before?
Chesed.
Tefillah.
Okay.
Tefillah. They daven 5 times a day. Do you know why they daven 5 times a day? Where do they get it from? That's right. Muhammad said, we're going to copy the Jews, but we're not going to just copy the everyday Jews. We're going to copy the Jews on their ultimate day, because they want ultimate spirituality. We're going to be every single day 5 tefillos. They daven for about 15 minutes, but they'll daven anywhere. You can see them davening on the street here, on Nahar Yarden. They'll pull out their little blankets and, they're doing their thing. I was in Morocco, and they have these prayer areas in the airport. Just because they're just going to do their thing.
Do they do it as together like a certain time? Like we?
Yeah.
Like a
Yes,
minyan?
yeah, 5 times a day. There are 5 tefillos a day, each of them about 15 minutes, and they call them to prayer. They do have a guy who reads like Quran for them, but I don't think that they don't have the concept of a tzibur as much as we do. They're individual wherever you are. Okay.
It's interesting that all medicine was created because of war. In other words, all the
There you go.
That's maybe where that.
Right. Well, if you're fighting all the time, you're going to constantly need a refuah, right? That's very good. So I think that's what it means. On a deeper level, a man of ashes means that if somebody contests their spiritual, in other words, if they're not following their understanding of how spirituality works, right? Then what do?
You burn them.
You burn them out. You burn them down. You burn them.
Which they do.
That's what they do. They'll kill and burn. That's it. And what's even more deep? What's their highest act of religious worship?
To like kill themselves.
To incinerate themselves. Where is that? The root of that is in Akedas Yitzchak. It's actually, unfortunately, I'll call the word a bastardization of Akedas Yitzchak.
Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda.
It's just, they're reliving this trauma.
That's right.
They wanted to, and well, in their book, they were the ones that
That's correct.
sacrificed.
That's correct.
Right.
In other words, in the Quran, they rewrite. The Quran is basically a rewrite. They take Torah with a grain of salt. That's the difference between Muslims and Christians, according to the Rambam. Each one has a role in spreading the Judaic concepts to the world, but each one has a disadvantage. The advantage of the Christians is that they actually do believe in the Bible, whereas the Muslims don't really. Well, it's like not 10 commandments, it's 10 advisements. We'll take it under consideration. So they can rewrite the text is not sacred to them, because their words are not sacred either. Their words are just a means to an end. Their word has no meaning. Agreements have no meaning. It's just what you say. It's a method of getting what you want, but it has no kedusha. Their words have no kedusha. You can't even read the language. I mean, it's like these little wiggles. I mean, it's like what? You know, it's like wisps of smoke from the ashes.
Bechlal, they don't have MS, and they don't
None.
know what that is.
No, not at all. No, and because it's not important. The important thing for them is to achieve this thing of complete and total spiritual sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, we're going to sacrifice you. So if their daughter goes and has a boyfriend, right, or maybe decides that she's not going to marry the guy and she's running around with other guys, what do they do to her?
They
Kill
kill
her.
They kill her. Do they cry a tear? No. They bury her up into her neck, and they stone her, and then they go have lunch. Not even an issue. Because this is a very deep point. The essence of Yishmael is that they did bind themselves to Ruchnius. But unfortunately, the way that they were bound is described in the language of Pera Adam. Also, the bris milah that they do is half of bris milah, which means that they cut the foreskin, and they don't do it that 8th day, which is what they're supposed to do if they're really B'nai Avraham. In fact, the real children of Avraham and Keturah, who Chazal identify as Hagar, who is remarried, not married, but repilegeshed to Avraham after the death of Sarah, and he has a bunch of kids with her and sends them off to the east and so on and so forth. They were required to do full milah on the 8th day. The only problem is they were mixed up with the seeds of Yishmael. We don't know who the B'nai Keturah were. If we could say that they're a real Keturite, then they would, on the 8th day, have to do a bris of Avraham. Right? Because those were the ones that were attached to Avraham were good, but they got mixed in with the Ishmaelites, and hence they're lost. They're Pera Adam.
Do Arabs make a brit milah on the 8th day or on the
Never on the 8th
13th?
day. Ever on the 8th day. No, they do it like when the kid is a little, like, we had an Albanian shamus at Young Israel of Oceanside who lived on the premises, and he did bris milah for his kid when he was like 3 or 4, 5.
I thought they do it straight away after they're born in the hospital.
I don't, well, maybe the more modern ones, I don't
Well, in
know.
America, they used to do a bris milah for everybody in the hospital until recently. All
Right.
children had it.
They mentioned that.
Which was
No,
why it was a
it's
very
not
good thing for America,
Yeah.
and now you see how America has deteriorated on the whole matter of bris milah all the way. But don't get me started on that. That's a whole. We spoke about the America correcting itself to be B'nai Noach because they were straying badly between the abortions, LBGTQFZ, WABC, and all of that, and just the, and of course the hatred of Israel.
The British
And
Royal
hateful.
Family used to do it.
Hatred of
They
Israel.
don't do it anymore.
That's another shmuz.
But don't
You're our
they-
British representative. But I have said in this
It's an
year
American
before,
enclave.
I have noted in this year before, and I'll give you another example of this, that the British monarchy is the last part of Malchut Edom. Is the last part of Christian royalty. It's the end. They're the last ones. Because is there any monarchy that's watched and admired and that their weddings are a worldwide event? Name one. Name one country. If the Queen of Denmark gets married, does anybody care? I mean, no one cares. England was the last vestige. It has a powerful thing of Esav. Now, here's the problem. They did view themselves, and from their perspective, understandably so, as
House of
their
David.
theology was that they replaced the Jewish people. So since they replaced Jewish people, they saw themselves as linked to King David.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And she
And because they're linked to King David, and
They
King
know.
David was circumcised,
made some.
they know, and that's why
Up
they,
until Diane.
up until Diane. Now, when he married a commoner, she was a commoner. It was truly the beginning of the end. And her 2 children, right, are really commoners. But they were not
She
circumcised.
wasn't a commoner.
She wasn't royal family.
Lady Diana.
She came from a nice family,
Right.
just like this one comes from a nice family, but she was not royalty.
No.
Okay, I don't know if it makes a difference, But as we said, the whole House of Windsor is a big fake out because their real name is like
Yeah.
is really Bamberg, and they're really Habsburgs, and they're German.
German.
Because the Germans carry the remnants of the evil Esav, which is Amalek. They carried it.
From the Roman Empire?
Yes. And Chazal say that. Chazal say that Christianity became the Edom, and therefore the nations that are officially Christian nations, the power, as they're powerful, it goes from nation to nation. It doesn't matter, because Christianity was an international religion, is an international religion. It doesn't matter, even though it's based in Rome, but it's not really based in Rome, because first of all, from Rome they could rule the whole world, just like Lahavdil Fadal Shlomo ruled the whole world from Yerushalayim. It doesn't matter if you're affiliated to their place. But
But just to go back, don't the Arabs recognise Abraham?
yes,
How? Why?
father of Ishmael, and Ishmael is there. They identify with Ishmael and the daughter of Ishmael, Fatima, and that's their Lahavdil, their Avos. That's why my friend told me today he was down in Hebron, and he picked up Palestinian pamphlets that are distributed in Hebron. And they say, it's Hebron, Palestine, because part of it, thanks to Bibi Netanyahu, belongs to them now. One of the biggest things that he did wrong. And they circulated, said this is the Mosque of Ibrahim. They don't hide it. They agree, this is Maris Machpelah. Except that in their understanding, Ishmael did rebel successfully against. Hagar did win out over Sarah. Whereas in the Torah it says specifically that she did not. All right, now, this is what I'm going to tell you.
Also, don't they believe that
We
Ishmael
have to
was
stop.
on the
Where's
Akedah?
Hagar buried?
Don't they believe that Ishmael was on the Akedah?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. If Hagar is buried, she would have been buried where she lived with Avram, which was Beersheba.
I mean, there's no memorial site to her.
I don't know. There might be. There might be.
No.
I mean, maybe the Muslims have one. I could look into it. I just want to say this last thing. First of all, why didn't Sarah kill the second pregnancy? The answer is she did. She absolutely did. According to Chazal, she forces Ishmael out because he's mitzachek. He was trying to kill Ishmael with his arrows. And what does Ishmael become? A roveh kashat, which means he does not engage, he's not powerful enough to engage in conventional warfare. That is Esav's koach, technology and weaponry and warfare, and power and might. Ishmael can only shoot what? Projectiles, missiles. Does that sound familiar? So they get a zillion missiles and point them at us, and incendiary balloons. Afer, Pere Adam, Afer Adam. I'll incinerate you. Oh, I heard this great thing. Remember the Gaza greenhouses that were, in Gush Katif, Nebuch, that were torn asunder by our own people. One of the greatest tragedies of our generation. The uprooting of Gush Katif, and the uprooting of anything else for that matter. And they said just today, with the leftover irrigation pipes, we're making into bombs. Precisely
Wow.
the fear of what we thought was going to happen by turning over to them. Here's the proof. They say, we're going to take your irrigation pipes. We're not going to irrigate. We're not going to grow because we'd rather incinerate you. Why? Because it's a greater value for us you're the kufar, you're kufar. Kufar means kofar, a denier of existence. You don't believe in our beliefs, so we'll burn you. And that's what they say. And that's their mindset. That's the Ramban, that's what the Zohar says. However, so Hagar, so that answers an important question. It says, Yishmael is in the desert, right? And Hashem listens to his prayer, how? Ba'asher hu sham, right? So who did he listen to, Hagar or Ishmael? Ishmael, we read it on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, etc. But wait a second. What about this conversation with the Malachim? Hashem promised Hagar that she was going to have a son, right? V'karata Shmo Yishmael. Ishmael can't die. Ishmael can't die. No matter what Sarah does, she caused him to be sick, so she ended up carrying him, and he drank up all the water. Sarah killed Yishmael. It was a divine intervention to keep him alive. What?
He was 17 years old. How did she carry him?
Good question.
She really killed, he was really dead?
No, I mean, for all intents and purposes,
He was-
he had no chance
he
to
had a
survive.
heart
Without
attack.
divine intervention, he was going to die. He was dying. But he uttered a prayer that
He has
saved him.
Avram's breath.
She uttered it.
The answer
She
is,
too.
what was the tshuva that he did? Basher Husham, at that moment he accepted Yitzchak as his master.
He was
So you
dead.
see, why did the first promise die? Because it's conditioned upon the words of the first Malach. The first Malach said to her, Shuvi el gevirtech visani tachas yodea. If you're going to accept Sarah as your mistress, everything will be a blessing for you. But you didn't. You kept rebelling, even though you went back. Once Ishmael was born, you started carrying around the same nonsense. So Hagar, Malach Hagar, no word, he says to her, Malach, same as what? Malach. She saw angels. When did she see angels? When she was subservient to Sarah, she saw angels. But in the end, she saw nothing because she was in her rebellion. Hashem in His amazing mercy listened to Ishmael for those 10 seconds and said, okay, you're fine. Even though we knew later on, what would they do? When Jewish people go to Gullus, what did the Bnei Ishmael do? Chazal tell us, they give them herring and salty meats, and they say, give us water, please. And they gave them flasks with hot desert air or sand, and it goes into their body, and they died. This is what we read about in Tisha B'Av, actually. Think about it from this context. What does a slave do to a master? Bring them food and drink. It's insidious. Oh yes, we're here for you. We're Yishmael, the servant of Abraham. Yeah, here's your food and water. I'll kill you. That's the real story of it. So, we are in a Gullus Yishmael right now. The problem is that it's an enemy that we've never encountered because they're willing to put themselves into ashes. The Nazis didn't want to die. Do you know that the Nazis would send people who would save Jews into the Warsaw Ghetto? It was a woman who became a righteous Gentile. She said, I have to go into the Warsaw Ghetto because it's going to be typhus, and the typhus is going to come out of the ghetto and affect the rest of Warsaw. Oh, no, go. They didn't care about the Jews, but they didn't want to die. They're chicken. I'm not getting burnt over this. Shmuel, give out candies and drinks. So this is the enemy that we're up against. And the only answer is...
But if Yishmael did tshuva,
he does tshuva,
For
yes.
10
And he will do
seconds.
tshuva. And they're in the process of doing tshuva. They are in the process of doing
They
tshuva.
do tshuva.
However, the problem is, "Vatekel be'einei gevirta." They look down at us because we're not holy.
We're not what?
We're not holy. The state of Israel is not a Medina Shel Torah official, right? It's a secular nation. It's secular
but they don't
values.
seem to respect the people who are true Torah.
But they're not in charge. They're not in charge. So therefore, what's the point? Yeah, the truth is any Jew that would be there, they wouldn't accept anyway. But it's within their DNA, and Chazal tells us that they will eventually when. Their job is to get us to be more spiritual, to be more attached to Sarah Imenu, which is the Shekhinah. When the Jews as a whole see it as their goal, Tisani, to give a little Mesiras Nefesh for things like Shabbos, worldwide Shabbos, and things like this, and daven, and not be kofrim, and be willing to go around tznius, right, and willing to have Mesiras Nefesh for Hashem, then they'll subjugate. We're on our way. It's a work in process. It will happen. It is happening, but we're still going through that goal. And by the way, I predict that we are going to go, as Svarmal say, we're going to be sitting and under the threat of all these missiles, and we will be saved by Hashem. But there's no way that we're going to save ourselves. It's just not. It's going to be a miraculous. It's like the Scuds. It's just nothing's going to happen, you know. But we're going to be extremely vulnerable, and then hopefully that'll be the last time the missiles will torment us. Hopefully.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi. Thank you.
Well, one of the things